Hello Electro heads! Well guys, it's happening. It's happening! Ferrari, the prancing horse, the maker of the world's greatest supercars, has announced its first electric car. We don't know much about it just yet, but in this video we are going to tell you everything that we do know. We're going to try to understand why Ferrari is doing this so much sooner than it previously said that it would, and we're going to have a look at Ferrari's past forays into electrification to see if we can't find a few clues as to what to expect from the first e-Rari. But before we do that, please do make sure to like and subscribe, because if enough of you do that, then the Ferrari PR man might stop ignoring my emails. You're breaking my heart, Francesco. You're breaking my heart. And while you're at it, leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see from the world's first electric Ferrari. So just a few days ago, the Ferrari CEO, John Elkann, announced to a meeting of shareholders that the very first electric Ferrari will arrive in 2025, and that it will be everything you dream the engineers and designers can imagine for such a landmark in our history. Everything I dream the engineers can imagine. Beer tap. Now, to be honest with you, this announcement came as a bit of a surprise, because in the past, Ferrari have always seemed very reluctant about the whole electric thing. Back in 2019, the previous Ferrari CEO, Louis Camilleri, stated that Ferrari's plans for electrification was to make a couple more hybrid models and then a first EV in 2030, aka the absolute last minute. And even just a few months ago, Camilleri was quoted as saying, "I really don't see Ferrari being 100% EV in my lifetime." Which, in light of recent news, either makes it sound like he was really out of touch or dying. Actually, I think that quote was widely understood when it first came out. He wasn't saying that there will never be a Ferrari that's 100% electric. He was saying that the Ferrari range of cars will never be 100% electric. There will always be a petrol car in there somewhere. Honestly, these Ferrari CEOs and their word puzzles, it's like trying to crack the Da Vinci Code. The point is, up until this recent announcement, pretty much every time Ferrari has mentioned electrification, it has been to throw cold water on it, which, as we all know, you mustn't do with electric cars because you'll be electrocuted. And to be completely honest with you, I totally understood Ferrari's apprehensions. After all, there is surely no car brand that's identity, that's personality, is so closely connected to the combustion engines that power their cars.
The engine is the soul of a Ferrari. That's what Enzo Ferrari said.
The twin-turbo V8 engine found in Ferrari's lower-end models has won the coveted Engine of the Year award 4 years in a row, and the naturally aspirated V12 that powers Ferrari's higher-end cars is, well, the best combustion engine, full stop. I'm sorry, but even Greta Thunberg would hear that and be like, that is sick. I'll cut to the chase because this is starting to get a bit Clarkson-y. Ferrari engines are the best engines, and they are central to what makes Ferraris so special. And being special is very central to what makes Ferraris, well, Ferraris. Considering all of that, combined with the fact that Ferrari, as a very low volume, high-end car maker, was under very little pressure to electrify any sooner than they absolutely have to, I was pretty certain that Ferrari would literally be the last car maker to unveil an electric car. And yet here is the Ferrari CEO announcing that an electric model will be with us significantly earlier than expected. Now, we don't know much about this mystery EV Ferrari just yet. We don't know what kind of car it's going to be or what it's called, but we certainly don't know the specs. But that 2025 release date, that, I think, tells us something. By bringing forward the release of its maiden EV, Ferrari is showing a willingness to embrace electrification which contradicts decades of quotes and statements from its past CEOs. And that, to me, suggests that Ferrari thinks it's cracked it. It suggests that by studying what other car makers are doing with their high-performance EVs and learning from their own forays into electrification through Formula One and hybrid cars, Ferrari now feels confident that it can do something previously believed to be impossible: make an electric car that feels like a Ferrari. Or, if you want to be a bit cynical about it, it just tells us that this whole electric revolution is happening a lot faster than Ferrari anticipated, and they've realised they need to get a move on and do something with electric, or risk getting left behind by their competitors, like in Formula One. So how on earth are Ferrari going to do that? How do you make an EV that is unmistakably Ferrari? Well, here's my 2 cents before getting into some actual evidence. I think whatever they do, sound has to be involved. I simply cannot imagine a Ferrari supercar that doesn't have a biblical soundtrack. So I'm putting some money on the first electric Ferrari being the greatest sounding EV to date, which, granted, not a lot of competition for that title. But actually the best place to look for clues as to what we might expect from this Ferrari EV is its hybrid cars, specifically the Ferrari SF90 and the Ferrari LaFerrari. So nice they named it twice. The LaFerrari arrived in 2013 and was one of the very first high-performance hybrid cars. But truthfully, that was very much Ferrari just dipping a pinky toe into the murky waters of electrification. If we're being brutally honest, it was just a honking big V12 supercar, just seasoned with electricity. The new SF90, however, is a proper plug-in hybrid and a clever one at that. The petrol engine is still the main course here, but the batteries are no longer just the seasoning, they're the side salad. It has 3 electric motors, 2 at the front and 1 at the rear, and the 2 front ones are relatively conventional in their design, although they do allow for torque vectoring. That is definitely something you can expect on the electric Ferrari. But the single electric motor at the back of the car is where things get really spicy. It's called an axial flux motor, and Ferrari reckons it's the most power-dense unit fitted to any road car. Get this, it weighs just under 11 kilos and puts out 150 kilowatts of power. For context, that is the same amount of power you get in a top-spec VW ID3. And for more context, the motor in the ID3, which was praised for its compact design, weighs about 90 kilos. Oh, and by the way, aside from its outrageous power density, another really exciting thing about that axial flux motor is the packaging. Because of its weird pancake-shaped design, if you were to, for example, I don't know, bin the engine off and make a pure electric car, you could stack lots of those motors next to one another on the rear axle and add lots and lots of power without creating any weight or packaging issues. Now, will we see these revolutionary science pizzas in the all-electric Ferrari in 4 years' time? Maybe. I personally think it's very possible. But the bottom line here is that if this Ferrari announcement of an all-electric car seems like it's come out of the blue, it really hasn't. When this electric Ferrari arrives in 2025, it will simply be the next step in a long and cautious process to electrification that began all the way back in 2013 with the LaFerrari. Step 1, make a supercar with a massive engine and a teeny bit of electricity. Step 2, make a car with a smaller engine and a lot more electricity. Step 3, no engine. So there we have it. That is pretty much everything that we know right now about the world's first electric Ferrari. I am so excited about this. I'm so excited that I get to talk about Ferraris on this channel now. Yes! Let me know in the comments, what do you want to see from the world's first electric Ferrari? What are your predictions for this car? I'd love to hear them. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.